So big puff of dust. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have a quick video for you today looking at a water washable resin featuring Nova3D water washable gray. Nova3D sent over two 500 milliliter bottles for us to take a look at, and being that I'm someone who really only exclusively prints with castable resins, switching over to a polymer resin was a breath of fresh air, so to speak. I was very, very happy with the results. However, we didn't want to just talk about the resin. We also wanted to specifically address some misconceptions that we've observed in our comment section, specifically on the previous video that Shannon did about biocompatible resin. There seemed to be some misunderstanding about what exactly biocompatible meant, whether it was an eco-friendly resin, but very few people actually grasped that it was actually meant to be a skin safe, something that's meant to be used in or on the human body. And we felt that water washable might kind of have those same misconceptions or something similar, so we wanted to nip those in the bud before we actually talk about some of the resin itself and its pros and cons. If you want to see more about that biocompatible resin, it's a very good video, by the way. Shannon did a lot of work. Check out that video in the description below. So water washable resin, as the name very clearly implies, means that the prints can be washed with water. That does not require you to have isopropyl or ethyl alcohol on hand to wash the prints when they come fresh out of the printer, as pretty much every other resin on the market does. Most, if not all, resins that are not specifically labeled as water washable require you to have at least 90% ethyl or isopropyl alcohol on hand, and if you were to attempt to wash them in water, it would make a huge mess. Printing with water washable can be a pretty huge advantage if you're specifically new to the printing space and you don't want to invest in a lot of equipment, or maybe you don't have a whole lot of space. Maybe it's hard for you to find the alcohol required in the specific purity and quantity. There's all sorts of good reasons why water washable might be a huge advantage to you, the consumer. However, just as a really quick side note, before we move away from the alcohol topic, I did end up washing some of these just as a test with my current alcohol setup, and there was no issues whatsoever. So water washable resin can be washed with water or alcohol, and it shouldn't be a big problem. I also don't see it anywhere on the label specifically stating that I can't wash it with alcohol. It just says water washable. However, something that we wanted to make abundantly clear before we move on is that just because it says it's water washable doesn't mean that this resin is eco-friendly or somehow safer than any of the other resins. These chemicals are in no way safe in their liquid form. Just because it can be washed in water, it is not an invitation for you to take it to the kitchen sink, run it under the tap, and introduce that into your water system. Please be responsible when handling these chemicals because they are very harmful to the environment. If you don't like the idea of microplastics, how does the idea of liquid plastic in the water sound? It's not good. So please be responsible and handle the water or alcohol responsibly when it's all used up. If you want us to make a video specifically about how to handle the waste chemicals, the water or alcohol, leave a comment down below, and we can definitely add that topic to our list of things to do. So just to summarize, there are resins that require alcohol. There are eco-conscious resins that have, some soy plastic content. There are water washables, but none of them should actually be put down the sink. Please handle them responsibly. Now, let's talk about the resin in front of us, Nova3D sent specifically. As I said at the beginning of the video, I print mostly with castable resins, almost exclusively these days, because we are a business and we are trying to make product. So I don't really get a chance to play around with many of the polymer resins very much. It's a bit of a shock to the system when you switch over from one to the other, because castables are notoriously more difficult to work with. They're a little bit slower printing, actually a lot slower printing in most cases. They're definitely more brittle, so you require more supports and generally larger heads, and they're just in general a little bit more difficult to work with. Within the jewelry industry that we tend to focus on this channel, there is certainly a need for resins such as this. Whether you're a designer and you're making a model, you want to validate that a ring size is exactly as the model says, or you just want to see proportionally how things look in reality. Maybe you have a client who wants to physically try it on before you move on to the next step. All of those are really good reasons for a material such as this. And ideally, what you want in a material is incredibly cheap material, because ultimately, once it's done, it's probably just going in the garbage. It's served its purpose. You also want the details to be really, really high, because naturally you don't want to show your client something that's not what they're ultimately going to be getting. And of course, you want it to print as quickly as possible. A 500 milliliter bottle of the Nova3D water washable gray on the Canadian Amazon costs $23, or you can get a 1 kilo for $40, which is incredibly affordable compared to some of the costs that we're paying for castable resins, going as low as about $99 USD per bottle up to $300 for a castable. So it's definitely something that this lowers that cost to entry massively. In terms of print speeds, by and large, this is the fastest resin that we've ever printed with in terms of polymer resins or castable. On our main go-to machine, our Prusa SL1S, we were able to whip out full plates within 45 minutes using ultra-fast tilt times, 10-second base layer, and I believe we went to 3 seconds per layer thereafter, based off of the resin calibration tests that we did, which is available on pretty much every Prusa machine. However, again, it really depends on your printer, because there are machines that will print stuff like this in like 8 minutes, depending on which ones you have. Every printer is a little bit different, so you'll have to tune your printer profile to get the optimal results that you need. And of course, in addition to that print speed, we were able to get phenomenal details. There's pretty much nothing to say about them. They're all perfect. I used the same jewelry models that we've used on previous casting tests, because I still feel like these models are a really good representation of jewelry across the board. And I did something a little bit different. I graduated how many supports that they got from one single support, a 1 millimeter support, all the way up to like 150% auto-generated support. So it was just a jumbled mess. It was ridiculous. And I was not expecting the result that we got. I kind of thought that one support was a surefire way to make them fail. And I had not a single one fail at all. Even on the heavy models, there are some here that I was definitely expecting to fail, just because of how much actual surface area is attached to the FEP at the time. I want to reiterate what I said before, that maybe I'm a little bit too jazzed about this result with the one support. Again, because I'm coming from just using casting resins, something like this is a bit mind-blowing to me. Maybe a bit more than it should be, but for you guys out there who are printing with this stuff normally, you're probably going to look at me like I'm a crazy person. Now, the one thing that I'm not sure about with this material, or any other water washable resin for that matter, is the longevity of it. What chemical component is being added, or possibly even taken away, that makes it water washable? I can't say. But it does seem to make this resin a little bit more brittle than the tough labeled resin counterparts. If you're printing a product that is going to be then sold, definitely do your due diligence and make sure that this material is going to serve the purpose for its intended lifespan. Time is something that I don't necessarily have a luxury of on this channel, or necessarily doing reviews, because I can't really make a 5-month or a 6-month thing of just watching this and dropping it every once in a while. We just don't have time for that. But for this jewelry use case that I described before, for prototyping, for client try-ons, things like that, this is going to work absolutely flawlessly. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use it for printing D&D minis and statues and stuff. Just be aware that it might not be as durable as others. So in our case, if you're a jeweler or a jewelry store looking to open yourself up to the benefits of 3D printing, and you're just trying to dip your toes in, you don't want to go buy the best of the best printer, you're happy with a $300 Mars 3 or an Anycubic or something, and you're also looking for a more affordable resin, definitely give Nova3D water washable a try, because I am very seriously impressed with the overall quality of it. It's very, very fast. It's going to print your models flawlessly with virtually no support whatsoever. So if all of this sounds like you, definitely give Nova3D water washable gray a try. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this content, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. And if you need help, if you're, as I described in this video, a jeweler who's just trying to enter the space, or maybe you're just trying to get into casting from 3D prints, please let us know. We're more than happy to help you out. check out our membership program where you have access to me on Discord on a more one-on-one basis. Depending on the tier, we can give you a call and we can try to set you up. We can definitely diagnose a lot of the problems that we see with printing and casting just from photos. So again, I'm here to help, and we'll hopefully see you guys on the Discord.